All right. We are live-ish.
Yeah.
We're actually pre-recording.
We're having to pre-record this because of
work. Yeah, work came up, but this is still our special. Hold on. Let me do the intro proper. Welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host, Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
And this is our Life Day holiday special, I guess you could call it.
This is as close as we're going to get for a whole year.
Yeah. So, speaking of, not next week, but the week after when we come back, it'll have been a year that we've been doing the show.
Oh, boy.
Because we started the week after Christmas last year.
Yeah.
It's
how the fuck did we manage to do this for a year?
And we improved a lot along the way.
Yeah.
I think we went from starting at my house on the first episode with struggling with the mics, specifically the because I had the lapel mics and I was hoping to try that, and that didn't work. But thankfully we had like an actual mic.
Yeah.
And now we're here at the Mobcast studio.
Yep.
And we've been kind of rolling from there. And we've been learning some stuff. We've had some amazing guests.
Mm-hmm. I've learned to quit. I still can't quite not mess about with the mic, but I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, and you know, you're getting there. So, I talked about it last week.
Yeah. Before
Before we get into the actual programming, I promised you something last week.
You did. I gave you a gift, and now
I'm so I brought some frosted cookies for us,
Yes.
some sugar cookies, because that's a Christmas classic. Let me turn them over for the audience so that way they can see the nice decorations.
Yep.
Get rid of that branding because we are not sponsored.
No, we're not. We're also not sponsored by these people either.
But yeah, they were store bought. Sorry.
Yep.
I mean, sugar cookies are. I don't think you can mess up sugar cookies.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Oh, do you have a story about that?
No.
But I doubt you can really and even
you have to try really hard to mess them
and
up.
store-bought sugar cookies is one of those things where normally you don't buy store-bought baked goods.
Yeah,
but sugar cookies are a safe one.
Yeah.
So I bought these.
Yeah.
And then because I thought it was festive, and then because I was trying to figure out what snack would be festive.
Yeah.
And then the thing I promised though, eggnog, because you've never had eggnog.
Yeah. No, I don't. I'm pretty sure I haven't, but I think that might be due to some of the ingredients that my family has put in them.
Oh yeah. So some people put more cinnamon in it.
It's not, cinnamon would not be the problem. I don't know.
And that was one of my concerns because I know, that's why I sent you a picture this morning. I was like, hey, is everything in this good? Because, I think we've talked about it on the show, but
there's a lot of things
your family is allergic to things.
Yes.
Your brother has some of them, but you've talked about it on the show that you got the brunt of it, where you got all the debuffs.
Yep. I gained a few perks. I gained a perk or two as well, but mostly debuffs.
So I had to make sure. So I was like, okay, I know that some eggnog contains heavier cinnamon. Here it looks like it's just nutmeg in this one. And then you get the egg yolks, because eggnog. I don't think I see anything too major that would...
Yeah, it should be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, there's turmeric in this. Oh, that's for...
Turmeric,
and...
annatto for the colors.
Yeah. Okay.
So just pour a little bit of it, because I've got another part of this that we're going to do.
Yeah.
So just drink a little, pour a little bit of it into your cup. And, give it a little taste.
Okay.
Like I said, it's going to be thick. Because I said that before the show, because I was like, because it's made with eggs. It has a scent to it, yeah.
Well, that's okay.
This is actually less thick than most eggnog. Some eggnog I've had has been, real thick. But this one's actually a less thicker eggnog. So the other part. This is new for me. I have never had eggnog with alcohol. And that is like supposedly a major tradition for Christmas is to drink your eggnog with alcohol when you're an adult.
It's either that or fucking hot cocoa and vodka.
Yeah, hot cocoa and vodka.
Specifically peppermint.
Yeah, get that peppermint. Get that peppermint schnapps. God, okay.
Go on and tell them the story.
No. So I actually want to talk about something I watched last night.
Yeah.
So, you've watched Netflix shows?
Yes.
Have you ever seen Murderville?
No.
Okay, do you know the premise of it?
No. If I've never seen it, I probably don't know the premise.
Okay, well, some people you can hear about the premise of shows without knowing what they're about, or without watching them, rather. Yeah. So Murderville is it's kind of a lie, not like a lie. It's got Will Arnett, right?
Okay.
And he's playing a detective named Terry Seattle, and it's supposed to be like the detectives show, like noir types. Not quite noir, but like, where he's like a gumshoe detective who's like,
is it?
He's like divorced and
hard boiled.
Where he's like divorced and all that.
Oh yeah.
And like he works for his ex-wife, because she's the chief of police.
Fuck.
But the premise though is that every episode it's a murder mystery.
Yeah.
And there's a guest every episode who does not get a script, and they have to ad-lib and figure out who did the murder.
Oh boy.
And so they did a holiday special. And so the joke about the guests is that they always just play themselves.
Yeah.
So like it's always like a celebrity guest. So this time they had 3 guests for the Christmas special. So the first guest that they brought in was they had where is it? I'm looking for it. Oh, so they started with Jason Bateman.
Really?
Yeah, so Jason Bateman comes in, and he's trying to solve it at first. And then about halfway through the mystery, they bring in Maya Rudolph to help. And then after they've already talked to all the suspects, they bring in their final guest. Like at the part where they're supposed to guess who the murderer is, they bring in Pete Davidson.
What?
And I start cracking up at the bullshit that they start doing, because they have like 3 suspects, and they're like, all right, who committed the murder? And they go like, is it this person, or this person? And it's like they're all connected to the person that got murdered, right? And so Maya guesses first. They're all given a present to hand to the person that they think is the murderer. Spoiler warning for the Murderville Who Killed Santa special, by the way. Watch it on Netflix. I highly recommend it. It is hilarious. I recommend the whole show, but I recommend that Christmas special.
I killed myself. Wait, for real?
So Maya Rudolph guesses the mayor, who is not a suspect.
Okay.
Who was immediately offended because, of course, Jason guesses Santa killed himself as he's lying on the floor. He's like, oh, he committed suicide. And they're like, that wasn't even the option either. And at this point, I'm starting, I watched this last night. It was like 2 a.m, and I'm cracking up, crying, laughing at this point. And then Pete gets his turn, and he's got no real evidence because he was not there at all for any of the investigation. He was just told a 15-second synopsis from Jason and Maya, like the best that they could give him. And Pete's like, "Oh, it's obviously Terry. It's he guesses it's Terry, who is also not a suspect." I'm not going to reveal who it actually is, but that was all 3 of them going for the joke. What? Because normally in the normal episodes they are actively trying to guess who it is, but in this episode they were like, "Nah, we're gonna go for the joke answer."
Yeah.
All right. So.
Truly, it is a shame that Santa Claus iced himself right before Christmas Eve.
Right before all the orphans could get their toys.
Yeah. You won't be getting coal for Christmas either this year.
Here we go.
In fact, you won't be getting much of anything.
That's some good whiskey. But it is Jack, so usually a safe bet.
Should be.
Yeah, it's usually a safe bet. I'm just kind of filling her up. There we go. I only filled the whiskey up to the first line on the cup, but that should be enough to give it that taste. Ooh. Yeah, it should give it that taste because it still smells strong, even with... Oh, you're finishing your eggnog off.
Yeah. I'm gonna put this off to the side.
It's all right. I can see whiskey. I can see why some would do whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
I think next time I do it,
yeah,
I'll do rum, because that's also an option, and rum I feel like would go really good with it.
Yeah.
But whiskey, I can see why whiskey works. It's just a little.
You drink a lot of whiskey.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
Like I like whiskey. I'm more of a rum guy though. At the end of the day, like rum, I'm very classic rum and Coke. Funny enough, that's like the only drink my dad used to drink when he did drink. Yeah. Was rum and Coke, and like that's one of my safe drinks that I like. I like the flavored Jack Daniels, the whiskeys that they have that you can get. I like the cola whiskey. That's really good. The black cola.
So here's a fun story while you're looking stuff up.
Yeah, I'm looking at some other like eggnog stuff.
A while ago, me and this was like
ooh, Bailey. Ooh, eggnog and Bailey's. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
that's one that I saw. Sorry, go ahead.
So me and Andrew come to pick me up, and I'm like, hey, I need to stop by the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I go in, and I'm like, you know what? I should get a gift or something,
mm-hmm.
right? So I go, and I'm like, hey, what do you want? And he's like, can you get me a little, like a little bottle, right?
Yeah, kind of like about that, maybe smaller.
Smaller than that.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the even smaller ones of this, but I was like, that's not going to be enough for us.
So I come out with what I bought for myself,
mm-hmm.
and a thing of Fireball about that size. And he's
Fireball is also recommended with eggnog, by the way. I looked at it. I saw that.
Because it got cinnamon in it.
Yeah, it's that cinnamon, yeah.
And he's like, I'm in one of the small ones, but I guess this is... I'm like, that is small.
Was it like that?
No. Bigger.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I saw... So I've seen them about this big for some drinks.
There are smaller ones than that, but I think it's the... responsive that is a small bottle.
Yeah, because it is already a small bottle. Like I would say this is still small. I would argue that's still small. What I got.
Yeah.
Like this, I would argue this is small. Like, because there's even there was a medium sized one about this big that was about $20. This one was only 11. Which for $11 that's not bad.
Not bad at all.
And so yeah. But yeah, okay. So we are a Star Wars show, so we should
talk Star Wars.
Yeah, let's talk Star Wars. So there's been a couple things going on. For one, it is award season for movies and shows, and of course, Andor got some noms.
Yeah.
Specifically, Diego Luna scored a Best Performance nomination for Andor at the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
Which I hope that's a good sign for maybe the Emmys as well.
Maybe.
Let me see. I'm going to see if there's any other announcements, because usually you can find award things on the Wikipedia page. Let's see, accolades. So, okay. So Critics' Choice. All right. Andor has been nominated for Best Drama Series.
Okay, yeah. I can see that.
I think it depends what all it's running up against, because I would argue that 2022 has been good for television. especially in the drama department. Like, I'm curious if House of the Dragon or anything else got nominated for that, because
it might have been. It might not have.
And then once again, Diego Luna got Best Actor in a Drama Series nom for Critics' Choice. So he has already been getting actor nominations, which I think is well deserved. Diego Luna is really good. I think in the show he is very much in the background.
Yeah.
Like, at first you don't realize how good he is, like when you're watching the show, but as it goes on, you start to realize, oh no, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
So I am looking at the Critics' Choice for Best Dramas. We got, for shows that I've watched, we got Better Call Saul with the series finale season. That'll
probably beat it out.
Only because it is the last season.
Yeah.
And this last season was really good. House of the Dragon is also listed.
Yep.
I don't watch Yellowstone. It's on my list.
Yeah.
But
I've seen one scene from Yellowstone, and it's a very interesting scene.
Yeah, but Yellowstone got nominated as well. Euphoria, another show that's on my list. I know that Tori probably watches it.
Tori has watched it, and Andrew watched it with her, and they're like, it's pretty good. And I'm like,
I mean,
not interested.
Yeah, it's very much a Tori type show. Yeah. It seems like something I would enjoy still, though, because I tend to enjoy all types of shows. I never heard of Bad Sisters. It's an Apple TV Plus show. Oh, The Crown got nominated.
Okay.
Which makes sense. I haven't watched. It's been a while since I've watched. I'm a few seasons back.
Historical drama.
Yeah. I know this season though was the big season because this was the one with Diana. So that's a big part of that's a big story for the Crown to cover. The Good Fight I've heard of, but I haven't watched. I've heard good things though. And then Severance I've never heard of. It's on Apple TV Plus. But any of these sound like they could win.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say Andor's got it locked.
No.
It's a very, like I said, this year has been good for TV.
Stiff competition there for that one.
I am curious about Best Actor. Once again, I think it could be a stiff year because... Oh, yeah, so Bob Odenkirk, of course, for Better Call Saul. I don't know. I don't know if he would win, but he is good. Anthony Starr in The Boys, Homelander.
Oh yeah,
like he is good, but I don't know. I don't know if he would win compared to some of these others. Because you also got Jeff Bridges for The Old Man, which I have not seen. Sterling K. Brown for This Is Us. I've heard good things about that, but I haven't watched it. And Adam Scott for Severance. Once again, don't know Severance.
Okay.
But the ones that I'm definitely rooting for are Bob Odenkirk or Diego Luna, because those are... But I'd be happily surprised if Anthony got it, because he really puts his all into Homelander.
He does. I don't think I've seen someone who does, like, fucked up corporate better.
So this is really interesting. I like the award season, but I also hate it because it's never like you really root for some of these projects, but then you realize, oh no, certain projects are gonna win because it's just the way the system works. But that's
not talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, but anyways, it's adjacent. It's adjacent. It's Star Wars adjacent.
On a thing or two.
Going back to Star Wars though. The other big thing. So Wonder Woman 3, Patty Jenkins has left that. And that was a big hubbub, right? Because everybody knew that Rogue Squadron was on pause until Wonder Woman 3 was done for Patty Jenkins, right?
Yep.
Because Patty wanted to work on Wonder Woman 3 first. So with James Gunn now in charge of a lot of the DC projects, he's changing things up. And one of those changes was... Patty Jenkins was removed from Wonder Woman 3. The rumor mill started up, and they said, oh, well, she was removed because she's supposedly hard to work with. And that made people worried that Rogue Squadron would also remove her, delaying it even further or even canceling it outright. Well, good news on the Rogue Squadron front. Patty Jenkins decided to clear the air on Twitter. She decided, hey, I'm not happy with all these rumors, and I just want to make my own statement. I'll pull up the statement because I retweeted it on my Twitter, which is Escape Reality 94, by the way. Let me find it. It's not too far back. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so it's a bit long, but she goes, "Sigh, I'm not one to talk about private career matters, but I will not allow inaccuracies to continue. Here are the facts. I originally left Rogue Squadron after a long and productive development process when it became clear it couldn't happen soon enough, and I did not want to delay Wonder Woman 3 any further." So that part we knew. It was taking a while to develop the film, so she said, hey, I'll come back to it. I'm going to do Wonder Woman 3. That's stuff that we knew. When I did, Lucasfilm asked me to consider coming back to Rogue Squadron after Wonder Woman 3, which I was honored to do, so I agreed. They made a new deal with me. In fact, I am still on it, and that project has been in active development ever since. I don't know if it will happen or not. We never do until the development process is complete, but I look forward to its potential ahead. And so the rest is basically how, like, she has a good working relationship with Gal Gadot and all that stuff, and why it's weird that the rest of it is Wonder Woman focused. Yeah. But that's the first paragraph is the big chunk of, okay, Rogue Squadron's still happening, and Patty Jenkins is still part of it.
I forgot that they made a Wonder Woman too.
Yeah, 1984, yeah. And that's also
the thing that was like if you told me, like, hey, is this a movie that you think exists? I would be like, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, though.
And I think 1984, I liked it. I don't think
I haven't seen it, so I can't cast it.
It's not as good as the first film. And I think that's where a lot of people...
Of course it's not going to be as good as the first one.
And I think that's also where a lot of fans were like, oh, this 84 is terrible. It has some bad moments, but it's not... I wouldn't say as terrible as some people make it out to be. I do think Pedro Pascal makes some weird choices in the film, but I don't know if that's him or if that was Patty.
Okay.
Because he plays the villain, and Pedro is the villain in it. Well, one of the villains, because you get I forget the name of the businessman villain that's in DC, not Lex, but the other guy. Anyway,
that doesn't narrow it down.
I know there's a lot of DC businessmen that are evil. Anyways, it's one of those, and then you have Cheetah as the other villain. The Cheetah story is a little weird, but it gets there.
Okay.
It's really Pedro's one that's like, you didn't think this one through, did you?
Is it another case of they were going to die anyway?
No, it's more of they were going to end up killing the person that they were doing all this for if they kept doing this. Yeah. Anyways, that we're not DC talk. But so Rogue Squadron's still in development, and I think that's good. I am sad that Patty is not working on Wonder Woman 3, because I did think she was going in the right direction with it, and I think her and Gal have worked well together from what we've seen of the two projects they've done.
Yeah.
I'm excited though for her take on Star Wars, because especially Rogue Squadron, because there's a reason why she's not dropping this, and it's because she mentioned it when she was announced to be directing it. Rogue Squadron is important to her because her dad was a fighter pilot, and that's what Rogue Squadron is. It's really it's a fighter pilot movie. It's an Air Force movie essentially.
Yeah.
I
can see why they didn't release it this year.
Well, yeah, people joked after watching Top Gun Maverick that Top Gun Maverick is basically there's literally a trench run section in Maverick where they're like, oh, that could be what Rogue Squadron is. But yeah. Anyways, I'm excited though. I'm glad that she's still on the project. And I'm glad that I'm okay with it being delayed. Take the time you need to develop it. I'd rather a project get... I think film news sites specifically, have ruined the definition of indefinitely delayed. Because When a project is now called indefinitely delayed, they will say, "Oh, it's been canceled."
Ah.
And it's like, no, 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 no. Indefinitely delayed means exactly what it sounds like. It's on pause. If they said if it was canceled, they would just say it's canceled.
Yep.
That's words have meaning. I'm not wrong.
No, you're not.
Words have meaning. There's a reason why they. I mean, it's the same thing with the Knights of the Republic remake. They said it was indefinitely delayed because they're reworking their company, the way their company works, and who's making the game, and so it's indefinitely delayed until they can figure that out.
Yep.
It's not canceled. If it was canceled, they would say, "Hey, we're canceling it because we just can't handle this project." I know this.
I'm sorry.
This is the second week in a row I've had a rant about like.
No, it's fine. Indefinitely delayed.
Like it means
words followed up by words have meaning.
Yeah.
I know. I understand that, but it's just one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, that's how words work.
But what I mean by that, like,
but what you mean is like.
Words have definitions that they mean, and that just because you think a word means something, that's not what it means.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, sometimes you're right. It is. Sometimes they are right that it is a sign that it's going to be canceled, but that doesn't mean it is canceled. Like, it's a sign that it could be canceled, but I don't think we should give up hope either that the project is gone, because it's just delayed. Anyways,
all right.
That's my rant. So, we were pleasantly surprised that the Han Solo and Chewbacca comic, which we're now going to dive into.
Yeah. So, spoilers for this.
Spoilers for that and the Life Day one-shot, which is this pleasant surprise, was that the Life Day one-shot came part of the trade paperback. So, we're going to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is perfect timing for us.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I saw that and we started talking about it and I double-checked that it is just a one-shot, I was like, oh, this couldn't have worked out better. So it covers the first 5 issues of Han Solo and Chewbacca, which is part of the Crystal Run storyline. It's the first half of it, because the heist is not really over, but things go bad enough that like it's a good pause moment.
Yep.
So this takes place after the Solo film, but still before Episode 4.
Yeah.
It's Han and Chewie, and it starts with them working on a heist with Keltana and her crew, which we've seen her and her crew in the Crimson Dawn stuff, because they've been working for Kira.
Yeah.
But they start on a heist on the casino planet of Galator 3. Where everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge escape that they have to make immediately, and they're being chased by the cops, essentially. And the cops start shooting at the Falcon, and the Falcon, like, goes through a casino on the way of its escape.
It's like, it's just storage. No one's gonna.
Yeah, thankfully it's storage. But
unless you're the janitor on that one day.
But this was a job for Jabba.
Yeah.
Which they barely succeed at.
Yeah.
Like, Jabba's like, you half succeeded. But, that's okay. Like, Jabba has this thing where he actually likes Han, because this is before he owes him so much money.
Yeah.
Like, this is when he and Jabba have a good working relationship, and Jabba's like, hey, I mean, even in Episode 4, Jabba's like, I like you. You're a bit of a punk, but I like you.
Yeah.
I don't want to do terrible things to you, but I will, just to make an example out of you. Because gangsters, they gotta make examples out of people. You can't just have people owing you money.
Don't fuck it up again, or else.
And so, apparently, they've changed terminology in the Star Wars universe.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, one of the terms, kind of like how we say we talk about how easy something's gonna be. We call it a milk run.
Yeah.
It used to be in Legends that it's a blue milk run, but here, Bib calls it a crystal run. And he's like, it's that although Han corrects him and says milk run.
Yeah.
So I guess milk run still exists in Star Wars. Like, they still call it that, but Bib is just dumb.
Yeah.
But it's also the name of the arc now, thanks to Bib. Good job, Bib. You named the arc.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. I can't call him a fat fuck yet, because he's not fat.
Can't wait for you to get blasted in your fucking chair.
Yeah. He had that coming after the the way we talked about this. The way he treated Boba in the War of the Bounty Hunters arc is enough alone
God damn it!
It's enough reason alone for Boba to shoot him.
I'm a day late, and you put a fucking hit out on me.
And it's like, I understand why Jabba did this. It's business, but for Bib it was personal.
Yeah.
Like there was something between Bib and Boba beforehand.
Like.
Which I don't think we see Boba in this.
No, we do not.
But we do get another bounty hunter, and it was the selling point of this comic series, Greedo, because they announced it. They said, when they announced this comic series, they said, it's going to be about Han, Chewie, and Greedo working together on a heist, and we're going to see why things end up the way they do in A New Hope.
Yeah.
And oh boy, do we.
Yeah, and so. The Crystal Run is brought and explained to Han and Chewie.
Yeah, basically they have
There's this guy that Jabba fucking hated.
Yeah, and he's dead now.
He's
right.
Yeah, and he's been cremated.
Yeah, and so Jabba wants the urn. He's like, I want his urn.
Fight. Go and get me this man's ashes.
And they're like, okay, that should be simple enough. I mean, what's funny is Greedo's reputation has, like, preceded him.
Yeah.
Because, like, Jabba's like, yeah, here you go, you're working with Greedo. And immediately Han's like, what the fuck? Fuck this guy.
Oh, God damn it.
This guy, really? Like, Greedo apparently is just that bad of a bounty hunter. Like, and I guess we've already known that because he does make a cameo in Clone Wars at sucking at his job. It's the episode where he's part of the kidnapping of the Pantoran's daughters.
Oh, boy.
The Pantoran arc, not the actual Pantoran arc where they're on the ice planet with the towels, but the one where the Separatists kidnapped the Senator's daughters, Senator George Lucas, because in Episode 3, George Lucas cameos as that senator.
All right. It's like,
but yeah,
like,
Greedo.
Fucking really, we have to work with Greedo, and they go, yes. However,
yeah, like. He immediately is like, your reputation sucks. I'm reading it word for word right now. He's like, just one, your reputation, it ain't good. And Greedo's like, now isn't that quack to calling the stiffling slimy? And Han immediately is like, except my rep isn't for being sleazy and underhanded. Yours is. Which it is kind of funny coming from Han, but I guess Han has managed to keep his nose clean so far. Yeah. Like, this is a younger Han we're talking about. I think we're closer to Episode 4 than Solo, but we're still like at a point where it's still a young Han who's like still probably good at his job.
Yep. It's like I don't
other than
Jabba,
other than what we saw in Belthar 3.
Has agreed to pay 1 million credits, and they're supposed to split 50-50,
which is still really good.
500K.
Yeah, which of course would then be, and then Han's 500K would be split with Chewie, which would still leave 250K, which is still really good.
Yeah.
And then they get to go to our favorite, not favorite planet. Because it's Han Solo's homeworld.
Back to Detroit. I mean, Corellia.
Yeah, so they go to Corellia.
Let's be real. Corellia is the Detroit of Star Wars.
Is it more like Detroit Become Human, though, where, like...
No, I mean, it's the Detroit because Detroit used to make cars, and that's where...
Except Corellia still makes good cars.
True.
Because they still make YT 1300s.
Yeah.
Which, backstory for Han, because we're going to get into it. Han used to watch his dad make ships. That's how he got into... I mean, they mention it in Solo briefly. And it's how, and I know in some of the books they've mentioned it too.
Yeah.
It's basically why Han is so interested in flying, because he grew up watching his dad make YT-1300s, because that's what Corellia is best at, is the YT class of ships.
Yeah.
And so of course he's like, that's why he likes the Millennium Falcon so much, and he knows it so well, because he grew up watching it be made. He's like, yeah, I know how this ship works, and it's why I love the Falcon as much as I do, because it's the ship I grew up watching my dad make over and over.
Mm.
That's important information, by the way, for this comic.
He's also like, I fucking hate this planet.
Yeah,
so
because he grew up as a street rat, essentially, he basically grew up Oliver Twist style.
Yeah.
As part of Fagin's gang, except he was more of a Dodger than an Oliver.
It's like, well, time to go back home, I guess. I don't want to be here, but this is where...
Which also, Lady Proxima is probably still alive somewhere, because, like, they didn't kill her in Solo.
No.
But we don't see her in this. Meanwhile, on Tatooine, word is getting out about this heist, as well as there's a detective from, what did I say the name of the planet was? Galator 3. There's a detective that's looking for Han. Basically, they're like a corpo kind of cop, similar to Andor. They're like a corpo.
Except this one is a lot more competent from what I'm seeing.
Yeah. And so this corpo...
And not fucking around.
Yeah, so this corpo's like, I'm looking for the Falcon. I'm looking for this Han Solo guy. They don't know the names yet, I don't think.
Yeah.
But they're like, I'm looking for this person, and I'm willing to pay 1 million credits for any information.
And they're like...
and so this one rando is like, hey, I know who it is. That's Han Solo.
Yeah.
And so we get a little flashback to when Han's going through the streets of Corellia. We see a little romantic moment between him and Kira, as well as I think we later on get flashbacks of seeing the scene from Solo where he has to leave her, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Where they get separated.
And meanwhile, in the present...
Yeah, in the present, they are they're scoping out the joint of where they're about to rob, which they're like in the wealthy district called the Pearl District. Good name for a wealthy district.
The other thing I was thinking, right, while reading this is like, I swear to God, I've seen Batman's parents shot in this alleyway.
Oh, in the flashback or like when they're walking through that alley where the flashback happens?
Yeah.
But then we get to the nice part where we get to where the Waynes live. We get away from Crime Alley and we get to where the Wayne Manor is.
Yep. And it's like, all right.
Actually, more of where Wayne Corps would be, not Wayne Manor. Wayne Manor is like...
And Greedo gives them the information. He's like, all right, it's going to be in the safe, in the penthouse.
And thankfully, we're away from, like, the White Worms territory, which is the crime syndicate that Han used to work for.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't, cross any, like, lines with them by doing this.
Yep.
Because that's another concern is you got to make sure that if you're going to commit a crime, don't do it in somebody else's territory.
Yep.
Especially in a place like Corellia.
They will just fucking kill you.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Han also knows this because Han's like, I grew up here. Yeah, I know this isn't White Worm territory, you dumbass.
And it's like, all right.
He's like, all right, how we doing this?
He's like, I'm just going to walk in.
Yeah, because Han's like, if you pretend that it's one of those things of you go in pretending that you are supposed to be there.
Yeah.
They'll believe that you're supposed to be there.
Yep.
And Han's like, I have engineering skills, so that can get us past all the alarm systems and all that. You just and then it's up to you to crack the actual safe.
Yep.
That's Greedo's job. That's why Greedo was brought along, was because only Greedo could crack the safe.
Yep.
And so they watch as one of the guards walks out, and they're like, okay, we see now's our perfect opportunity. We're going to jump that guy, get his security. Well, we're not going to jump him, but we're going to pickpocket his security access.
Yeah.
Get in that way. And we'll just pretend that we're one of the hired guns that protects this place.
Yep.
Because the hired guns look like just that
regular guys.
They look like gangster. Like they look like you. It looks like they paid off like the local biker gang.
Yeah.
They're like, the local biker gang is our protection.
Mm-hmm.
And because like the guy who comes out is wearing like a leather jacket and everything, so I just think biker gang.
Bump into him. All right.
Yeah, Han does the classic bump and grab. I almost said something worse. You know what? Fuck it. I almost the bump and snatch. I think it's the eggnog, man. The eggnog's getting to me.
But so he's like, "All right, I'm in," and the fucking.
So he managed to get past the doorman because the doorman doesn't know the difference. He's just like, "Okay, you're security." Same thing with the guy inside, but he gives him a harder time.
Like the concierge, I think, is what they're called.
Yeah, the concierge
is like, wait a minute,
because they're basically breaking into this penthouse. Yeah. We should clarify that. Like, they're like trying to break into this penthouse, and they're going to get to like the top floor
and make sure everything is all in order. And the concierge is like, I don't know, man, you don't look like one of the regulars. And he's like, look, the boss man's going to be real pissed.
Yeah, he does the whole, do you want the boss to find out that you held me here, or you going to let me up? It's the classic, wait till the boss hears about this. And, of course, nobody wants the boss to ever show up, so they're like, yeah, get in.
Just once I would like for them to be like, you know what, yeah, we will wait here for 15 minutes. Also,
I will speak to your manager.
Also, like, the sick prisoner one where they just, they go and they look in, they're like, yeah, I'm not falling for that shit today.
Or they say, fuck it, if you are sick, we'll just let you die because we don't care anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he made it to the master bedroom, and he's looking for like where the safe is, and he found it. Really, so this is really just supposed to be scoping out.
Mm-hmm.
Not trying to actually break in, so he scopes out, he now knows where the safe is. Perfect. Now they can proceed to plan the actual heist.
There is one small problem, though.
It does not have the type of encryption that Greedo was prepared for.
Yeah. They put a big fucking lock on it.
Yeah, like, on top of the lock that was already supposed to be there, there's now like an extra layer of security that Greedo was not prepared for.
And he's like, and they all collectively are like, fuck, okay. And so they
start to plan how they're going to get through it, which Han is like, we need a turbo laser to get through that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But of course Greedo's like, where the hell are we supposed to get that?
He's like, give it a minute, I'm thinking.
And they're planning at this cantina. They're like getting some drinks and talking. And that's when some opportunity bumps into Han.
Mm.
It's apparently a guy who works at the docks.
Yeah.
He works at the shipyard. And because he sees Han recognizes the CEC logo, which is the name of the company that works on the ships. And he sees like a CEC logo on this guy's badge. He has like a badge.
Yeah. I think it stands for Corellian Engineering Corps.
Mm-hmm. And so Han introduces himself, and they start having drinks. And, meanwhile we have back at Hosnian Prime, we have our corpo looking for Han and looking for clues of where to find him.
Where the fuck is Han Solo?
And their name is Marshal Buck Vancto, which I like Marshal Buck. Like, they are a bastard, but they're a really fun bastard to watch.
Yeah.
Like
where?
Like obviously we're cheering Han on to not get caught.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this
guy is not here to play games.
It's the competency that makes me love them. Like, they're very competent, and that's what makes me like them. Like, obviously I don't want them to succeed, But at the same time, I'm like, I wouldn't be upset if you did succeed.
Yeah. And it's like, for the narrative,
yeah,
you're not going to, but
yeah. And so they're looking, for a connection to Han at the moment because they're not looking directly for Han. They're looking for this Snivian, who is That's the name of the alien race, by the way.
All right.
That's connected to it, and what happened. And they managed to locate them, and I think actually no, that was a previous job. Yeah, so that was a previous job. Sorry, they start looking for Han at the end of this issue. My bad. So like, from the beginning, they were looking for the Snivian.
Yeah, and they caught him.
And they catch him, yeah, with the like electric bola, essentially.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I love it when they run,
because then get to use my electric bola."
Yep.
And so they catch him, and then they get the new job to look for Han Solo.
Yep.
I think actually no. So I was correct that earlier. Somebody is getting information on Han Solo, but it was the actual corpos and not our marshal yet.
Yeah.
So, but now our marshal's in the story. Meanwhile, Han and the stranger are drinking, and they're just like trading drinks. And actually, I missed it. I think where Han. Oh no, not yet.
Yeah.
So they talk, and Han eventually does a toast to his dad.
Yeah.
And the stranger is like, oh okay, yeah, I'll drink to that because you told me that he was a shipbuilder like me. What was his name? And he gives the name. It's let me make sure I pronounce it right. Oven? Ova? I can't tell. It's Oven. Oven. I think that's an N. It's hard to tell on this print that we've got.
Yeah.
Because the last letter is a little smudged.
Yeah.
But yeah, Han says the name of his dad, and the stranger's like, "Wait a minute, that's my name." What?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Wait a minute. And it's like, shit.
I'm double checking what the last letter is.
And
it's Oven. Okay, I was right. Oven.
And so Oven's like,
so this stranger's like, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm Oven, Han. Wait a minute," and Han's like, "Yeah, that's." He's like, "What?" And Oven's like, "Well, that's my name. I'm Oven. I can't believe it. You're my son." And Han's like, "Wait, Dad?"
Yeah.
And that's the end of the first issue. And when I read that because I read this as it was coming out, I was like, "Oh my god, did they just drop Han's dad into this?"
The funniest thing happens in like the next panel for the next issue. After like this little flashback.
Yeah, we get a little flashback of another cute moment with Han and Kira. Oh no, sorry, this is Han and Oven.
Han and Oven.
Sorry. I know there is a Han and Kira thing later on as well, but this is Han and Oven. Han had long ass hair, by the way, as a kid.
Yeah. So long that you've confused him with Kira.
No, I figured it was still Han.
Yeah. But Han and his father are talking. And
this comic does a good job. So throughout this comic, they're meant to question whether or not this man is really Han's father.
Yeah.
This issue does a great job of continuing that mystery off the bat by not showing us his dad's face in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
They make sure that they shadow his face, and they set it during like sunset, so that way it makes sense that his face would be shadowed, so that way we don't see it. We also learned that his dad is very much an alcoholic. I think this flashback is meant to show us that he's an alcoholic, because we see him drinking while talking about the ships and all that. Because like this is their bonding. This is how Han bonded with his dad, was through the shipbuilding.
He and his dad are. He's not drinking, but his father is. His dad's like, "You're made for more, son. You're supposed to fly ships, not build them."
Yeah. You were going for a Sam Elliott there?
I don't know. Build a goddamn. I'll build the ships, you fly 'em. In the present.
Meanwhile, in the present.
Fuck you, Dad.
Yeah, Han punches him.
It's like, damn.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Because, as far as we know, Owen abandoned Han.
Yeah.
Which is why Han ends up with the White Worms.
Yeah.
Because obviously somehow Han had to end up with the White Worms while his dad is still alive. Like, the explanation would be that Owen abandoned him.
Mm-hmm. So Owen's like, damn. Hell of a greeting, but I get it.
But Han also is like, you're not my dad. I should recognize my own dad. This con doesn't work if you're counting on me to not recognize my own father.
Yeah.
And Owen is like, well, in case you haven't noticed, things haven't been well for me over the past few years, and he points to the eye patch on him.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously I look different because things have not gone well over the past few years.
Yeah.
Shipbuilding's dangerous work, boy. And he takes off the patch to show his eye gone.
Yeah.
And so, and that's when Han clicks that, hey, I can use this guy.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's my dad, he's gonna have a laser that I can use.
You wouldn't happen to have a turbo laser, would you?
Or a plasma cutter or something.
Yeah.
And so
It's like,
before we get in, before we get too much of an answer of like whether or not they're going to work together, Han's back on the Falcon holding the infamous dice, talking to Chewie and kind of thinking through this plan and wondering if it's a good idea or not to work with Dad.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I don't think the security chip idea is going to work twice.
Yeah. So we got to kind of...
So plan B.
Yeah. And so... We'll skip ahead a little bit and get to the heist because, like, we get some moments of, like, Greedo and Han interacting and we get more of Owen and Han interacting and Owen trying to convince him that he's his dad and talking about some memories. Like, they talk about... They go back to the same pier that we see in the flashback and they talk about how they spent time here a lot. And meanwhile, of course, So of course we jump ahead to the actual like heist, which they break in with some explosives to get. They basically die hard into the place. So they go through the vents and then they blow up a hole in one of the vents to get through. And so far, nice and quiet.
Yep.
Like even with that explosion, it was this minor explosion, so nobody suspects anything yet. And part of the plan though is that while that's going on. So in order to get to that part, they also had to then dress themselves up as employees that are part of the security who are checking in on the vault to make sure it's secure.
Yep.
And so they dress up and basically checking for vulnerabilities. They're basically a, what's it called? There's like a job for that in real life.
I don't remember what it's called. I know they exist.
Where you check for security vulnerabilities. It's one of those jobs. And so they're like, hey, we're just checking. That's what we were hired for. And once again, the guy, it's basically the guy who runs the elevator this time. And he's like, no. I don't know if I can trust that. And they're like, once again, look, if you don't stop. Oh, wait. No, he lets them by easily. I forgot.
Yeah.
He's just like, here you go.
Go on in.
52nd floor. He just tells them where to go. So they get on the elevator. Easy peasy. Greedo messes with the door to make sure that in case something does go wrong, the guards, it'll take a minute for them to get through.
And Owen, in parentheses, is explaining, like, because Owen got them in through the door, and he's like...
Unfortunately, it does take him a minute to get through the door because Greedo does have to break in because the owner of the penthouse did upgrade his security.
Yeah.
Because after Han broke in, Mr. Graves is the name of the guy they're robbing. He upgraded because he was like, wait a minute, that guy wasn't supposed to be here.
Yep. Owen, the like brief elevator talk is like, what, you thought fucking being underhanded was a Corellian trait?
Yeah, because Owen's the one that helped sell the lie.
Yeah. And
of course, Han is like, I think it's a clip I showed you back when this issue came out.
Yeah, it is.
Because of course, at this point we had just finished talking Midnight Horizon, and so we were talking Corellia, and I was like, "Hey, this just came out," and it's Greedo says, "Interesting. I've never heard of a XMAR scanner before," and Oven's like, "Probably because I just made it up." And Han's like, "Helps to be a con artist, right, Dad?" And Oven's like, "You think thinking of one's feet is limited to grifters and scoundrels? It's a way of life for anyone on Corellia."
Yeah.
And so, of course, me and you being the Corellia haters that we are, we were like, "Oh, yeah, this makes sense."
It is also very much a, like, I think we haven't spent any real time in the nice part of Corellia as, like...
We usually get, like, middle to lower class Corellia.
Yeah, we
get some upper class Corellia in Midnight Horizon, but it's mostly middle to lower.
Yeah.
And especially in Solo, we only get lower class because we're only there when Han's part of the White Worms, and then we leave Corellia. Yep.
And so they go, and Greedo is taking his time cracking, and it's like...
It's taking a minute because, like, Greedo is bitching the entire time because he's like, if you didn't break in the first time, we wouldn't be here. And it's just like, yeah, but if he didn't break in the first time, we wouldn't have the information we needed about the safe.
Yeah.
Because... that's how you do a heist. You do your first break-in, so that way you can scope the joint out properly. It's literally how every heist movie goes. You go in the first time, not to rob the place, but to scope out.
Yep.
And then you go in the second time for the actual heist. That's how a heist works.
Yeah.
But Greedo's so dumb. He's just bitching the whole time.
Yeah, and it's like, God damn it.
Once again, we're just like, fuck Greedo, and he deserves what he got.
And it's like, alright. Oh, meanwhile, Chewbacca's off securing a car.
Yeah, because he's getting the getaway.
Yeah.
Because they're like, obviously we can't use the Falcon as the getaway.
Because then people will know
who did it.
Was.
Yeah, because we're like, the Falcon is recognizable at this point.
Yep.
We don't want any connection to Jabba, because obviously if they know I did it, they know it was Jabba.
Yep. And so, eventually, the safe is opened.
Yep, and unfortunately, though, an alarm also is secretly set.
Meanwhile,
back on Tatooine, Bib's being Bib, and preparing immediately to betray Han.
Yep. Also gambling on dogfights.
Yeah.
On not dogfights.
Yeah, not dogfights, but dogfights. Once again, fuck Bib.
Yeah. And it's...
So he meets with Marshal Buck and is like, "Hey, I could give you that information you need if you could pay me generously, and obviously make sure Jabba doesn't know what I gave you."
I think the actual tone of the conversation is like, "Hey, what can you tell me about this Solo guy?" And Bib's response is, "Not much unless you're paying me."
Yeah.
To which Vant...
Oh yeah,
is like,
Buck is,
"You fucking owe me."
Yeah, Vancto's like, "Look, you want to go back to Ryloth?" And he's like, "No."
I realize that the implication here is, I will fucking sell you back into slavery if you don't talk right now.
Like, you're going back to your homeworld, but not freely.
And Bib is like, "Yeah, I can help you with that."
Yeah. Bib, as always, is slimy.
Yeah.
He is scum. But yeah, so back at the heist, though, they're managed. Once again, we're getting more of dad and son bonding, and we get a one panel flashback to the last time Han had a father figure, and he shot him from Solo.
Yeah.
Where, oh boy.
It's like, damn.
Yeah. God, I miss him. Anyways, so they, of course, Han gives him a... Oh, no. Dad gives Han a hollow image of when... To, like, once again...
He's trying
tell the
to,
story.
Tell the story.
And it's like, oh, this was us when you were younger. And it's a nice little hollow image of dad and son. Which means somehow...
Mm-hmm.
I'll wait till the end.
Okay.
Because I don't want to reveal anything yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Han...
The safe is broken into.
And like, the ride is pretty much almost secured by Chewie, which is perfect timing, because like they managed to get into the safe. Chewie's got the vehicle on the way.
Yep.
Unfortunately, there's a problem. It's empty.
So, there ain't shit in here, man.
Yeah. So they realize, okay, well, we got this thing right here, though, and that's worth some money at least.
Mm-hmm.
So they take that as, like, incentive, at least.
Like a fallback.
Yeah, fallback.
Yeah.
And just as that happens, that's when the guards come in, and they're like, hey, how's it going? And lock the door.
Yep. And it's like, okay, so what now? And Han's like, I have a great idea.
And Greedo's like,
let's call 911.
Yeah, let's call 911. And Greedo's like, why would we waste time with that? Shoots that bulletproof window, and laser starts flying through the... Just as Han's like, don't do that. Fucking Greedo.
Like, God damn it. And he's like, well...
He's like, how was I supposed to know that would happen? And Han's like, well, duh, that was going to happen. You think that somebody this rich would live in a penthouse that's not bulletproof?
Yeah, like, thankfully, from Dad, we have this big fucking laser cutter.
Yeah, so they start laser cutting the window. Thankfully, the window's not laser cut proof, and so they start working on that. Meanwhile, the cops show up, and they're like, hey, you made it. Oh my god, you made it. Come help us. The guys who broke in, they're already leaving. They went that way.
Yep.
And the stupid cops believe them, and then they
get in the back of an ambulance, essentially.
Yeah, and then they knock the driver out so that way they can take the vehicle.
Yeah.
And so Chewie then picks them up so they can get into the actual vehicle, the escape vehicle, and that's when we get a little bit more father-son bonding, and they start to plan, okay, what are we going to do with this that you did steal? Also, they leave Greedo behind.
Yeah, they leave Greedo behind.
Because fuck Greedo.
This asshole.
And so, Dad is like, hey, I know who we can bring this to. There's a Stava named Madeline's son. It's our buddy Madeline's son from the Crimson Reign.
I was like, wait a minute. I know that name.
You sure do. And so... They go to her, and this is, well enough before her joining Crimson.
Yep.
And so
they're like having a very...
they're like, hey, this is... we're looking for an urn because they believe she has it now.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're willing to barter, we got money. And they kind of come to an arrangement, except Madeline's like, too bad I don't have what you want.
Yeah.
And they're like, God damn it.
But they're kind of like, she still has it.
Yeah. So, like, they gave her the credits anyways, because they're like, you gave us information, and also, like, we know you have it. So, here's the money.
And so they go, and they're like, all right. So how are we going to get it?
Unfortunately, this is also the scene of that flashback from Crimson Reign. Yeah. So remember in Crimson Reign when Madeline talked about how the stormtroopers raided her workplace
for like no reason.
We now know the reason. It's Han's fault.
And Han
is the reason her place got raided.
Han like ratted her out to the fucking stormtroopers,
which is very circular in that. It's like poetry, it rhymes, to quote George.
Go on.
That Han is the reason she got raided, and then she ends up working for Han's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, ex-girlfriend.
Yep.
Because Han did this to her.
Yes. And it's like, so they go in after her place has been raided, and there are 3 dead clone troopers.
Stormtroopers.
Sorry. Right. There's a big difference between the 2 of them.
Yep. But yeah, so yeah, they find the dead bodies, and then eventually Owen's like, hey, I found it.
Yay.
And so and immediately Han betrays Dad. knocks Dad out. Unfortunately, seems that somebody was hunting Han for what he did.
Yep.
Because here comes another Wookiee that's not Chewbacca, grabbing Han by the throat. It's Black Chrysanthemum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you motherfucker.
And so we get a Wookiee fight. Well,
Yeah.
we get the start of a Wookiee fight. We don't get the all-out brawl that we're hoping for. Although we've had the brawl before. We get one later in the timeline between Black Chrysanthemum and Chewbacca. It's in Star Wars 2015. They fight on Nar Shaddaa.
Oh boy.
It's a three-way fight too. It's Chewie, Black Chrysanthemum, and Dengar.
Oh god. That's just a mess.
But Chewie is smart. He manages to place a tracking beacon on Black Chrysanthemum's ship, and so wakes up Dad.
Wrecked.
So he wakes up Dad, and they're like, well, first he carries Dad to the car.
Yeah.
He's like, get in the Falcon. I'm piloting us to follow. And that's when he wakes up, and he's like, where are we going? Solo did a number on me with that stun, and he's like, oh, we're going to go get him. But the problem is Orvin doesn't speak Shriwook.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't fucking know what you're saying, but...
And that's when Chewie's like, look at the computer, you dumbass. And Orvin's like, oh, that's a flight trajectory. Oh, you're tracking them. And Chewie's like, duh.
Yeah, so I guess HARRO is yes.
Yeah, Orvin figures that out, and another oh is yes.
Yeah. Great. Learned one word.
One word in Shriwook. We know ho is yes.
And so
that's my best Shriwook. I'm not going to do anymore, by the way.
They go and
so they manage to track him down. Yeah.
I assume it takes like an hour.
Yeah, and they park in this nice field, by the way.
Yeah.
And so, like, they find them on this planetoid. Not even a full planet, it's a planetoid called Molotonka. And so Chewie's like, you stay on the ship, I'll go get him. And so Chewie manages to stealth his way in, knocking these guards out. And then some of the guards are like he kicks some guards' ass, and these guards are like, you know what, we'll stay on the ground. We're good.
They're like, do we get paid enough to fight a Wookiee?
No.
Okay, let's run away.
Yeah. They're like, we'd rather not deal with that.
Yeah.
And so, meanwhile, Han has been captured, and they're asking him where the
where's the urn?
Yeah, where's the urn? Which he's like, I don't got it.
Bam. Once again, where?
Yeah.
And he's like,
I dropped it when your guard picked me up, you dumbass. It's your own fault for losing it.
I know where it is.
Next time, hire a bounty hunter that can, get the item that you're looking for. But that's when, as Chewbacca is sneaking in, Black Chrysanthemum sees him.
It's like, no.
Bowcaster fight. And the guy, I think this is supposed to be Mr. What did I say was his name?
Graves?
Yeah, I think this is supposed to be Mr. Graves. I don't think they say his name.
Yeah.
But I believe this is supposed to be Mr. Graves. Mr. Graves is like, oh, fuck, Wookiee fight. I'm out.
Yeah. The smartest move I think anyone has ever made.
Yeah.
Of, fuck it, I'll leave.
And so Chrysanthemum and Chewbacca start going for blows. And it's so, I love it. It's such a great moment. And, meanwhile, Chrysanthemum's cheating because he's got brass knuckles.
Yeah.
But, God, Chewie's taking it like a champ, though, still.
Yeah.
And that's when Chewie's like, oh, you know what? I got a thermal detonator.
He's like, I have a grenade.
Not just any grenade, though. A thermal detonator, which is it's a big deal, apparently, in Star Wars. Even though every time I've used one in Battlefront, they're useless. So he blows Chrysanthemum away, giving enough of a distraction for him and Han to start to make their way out, and they shoot at some guards as they break out.
Yep. He's like, why did you park the ship so far away?
He's like, because, it makes... I didn't want to be spotted, duh.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they get to where the ship is parked, only for it to not be gone. Not be there. It's gone. Because good old Pops took the ship.
Damn it.
Meanwhile, Chrysanthemum and team catch up, only for a ship to come back in, but it's not the Falcon.
Yeah, and they're like, this is weird.
It's Tonga and Caltana's group.
Yeah.
And so Caltana's like, hey, you stranded me on Galtor. You tried to strand me on Galtor
Thanks
3.
for leaving me, asshole.
But you know what? And he's like, well, first off, I didn't leave you stranded. And second, I thought you said you were going to blast me. And he's like, she's like, I could still do it, but Greedo's like, here's a punch, because Greedo's on the ship.
Like,
that's for stranding me.
And Han's like, no, I meant to do that.
Yeah, that one's fair. I did actually strand you. I love when Han even admits, he's like, yeah, that one I did do.
And it's like, God. He's like, Chewbacca, I believe, is still outside.
Yes. Yeah, Chewbacca is... No, they picked up Chewbacca too.
Yeah.
Because it's in the same... But, like, they're in... Like, he's in another room.
Yeah.
And so everybody points blasters at Han, and Han's like, wait a minute.
The thing that prompts this is, give me one good reason why I should help you.
And he's like, well, that's 7 reasons. I said 1.
I love...
Like, Han's humor is
it's good. I also love the design of Tonga's like blaster because it
looks like it's aimed at us. Like if you look at that frame, it looks like it's almost pointing at us.
It also looks like it's a 12 gauge with a pistol grip on it.
Yeah, it looks like somebody took a pistol grip and added it to like to a heavy machine, like a little SMG. They're like, what if we just gave it a pistol grip, but it's an SMG that could blow Han away? And then,
how about I blast you right now?
What's funny though is that everybody is pointing one blaster at him, except for one guy who has 4 arms, and he's pointed all 4 blasters.
He's like, I will.
That's like where most of the blasters are coming from for the 7.
Yeah. He's like, okay,
yeah. You know what? That's some good reasons. Well, look. I can count us in on that earn job. I know where it is.
Yep.
And so, it's with good old Pops.
Yeah.
Who, at this point, we start to get the reveal that, well, first, we see the Corpo following. We see Marshall Buck. Yeah. And we get a reveal of Marshall Buck's face, who turns out has captured Orvin.
Yeah.
And that's when we get the reveal that Orvin is not Orvin. They are Corbus Tyra. And I think also at this point, Greedo and them also figure that out.
Yeah.
Except for Han. Han doesn't know this yet.
Han's not in...
He's not in the know.
Do we tell Han? And they're like, no, there's no reason to.
Because right now it works in our advantage that Han thinks it's his dad.
Yeah. I feel like I should know the name Tyra from somewhere.
I can pull it up. I think it's mentioned earlier in the comic, or at least Corbus is. But I don't think he's mentioned anywhere else outside. Yeah, he's only a Han Solo and Chewbacca character so far.
Okay.
Yeah, they mentioned that I think the Corpos mentioned they're looking for Corbus earlier.
Okay.
In issue 1.
All right.
So that. But yeah, he's a member of crimes. Yeah, that's right. In the first issue, he's contacted by one of the crime syndicates by Vism to get about the job, but we don't see him.
Okay.
And that's the setup of that's the early on setup that this isn't Han's dad.
Yeah. And so they're like, fine, we'll go and get Solo's not father.
Yeah, so they go to Paqualis 3, which is where they tracked the Falcon as being, and they do a similar heist to the Galator 3 heist, essentially, where they kind of they just go in guns blazing, essentially.
Yeah.
And they manage to, with some heavy hits and almost betrayals, with actual betrayals, they knock out Han.
Yeah.
They do get Corbus, but they knock out Han and leave him and Chewie for captured.
Yep.
Well, Han they leave for dead. Chewie they leave captured.
Yep.
And we see Chewie wake up at a prison on Gohadar,
And it's like
where we see our buddies Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba from episode 4. I'm wanted in 12 systems. My friend doesn't like you very much. I don't like you either. If you remember that from yeah, it's them. We see them there, and they're like, "Hey, look, some fresh meat in the prison."
Oh boy.
But thankfully, Chewie runs into an old friend, Maz Kanata, who is also in prison there.
Who is also in prison for her various crimes.
Well, because she is the pirate queen.
Yeah, piracy is a crime.
Yeah, she is the pirate queen. And that's the end of the actual Han Solo and Chewbacca stuff. But Volume 1 included a Life Day special, which was a one-shot, where basically Han... So we get this is basically a collection of like different sorts of Life Day celebrations. It mostly follows Han and Chewbacca, which is why it's part of this collection. And it's them basically getting this the festive orb, essentially, that we see. It's if you've ever watched the original holiday special, it's the orbs that we see all the Wookiees carrying in that one scene where they go into what looks like the World Between Worlds before the World Between Worlds was a thing. But when they're wearing the red robes that look like cult robes. Have you ever seen the holiday special? Oh, we gotta do that sometime. It's not canon. The holiday, obviously, Life Day is canon, but the holiday special is not canon for a bunch of reasons. It's bad. It's basically the holiday special is essentially a variety show set in Star Wars. So by that I mean like they do different like skits.
Okay.
Like, you know, a variety show, usually they have like a lot of skits and stuff. And part of it is they have like Jefferson Starships play a song. They have like a Circus du Soleil moment.
Okay.
We get our first appearance of Boba Fett from this, actually, though. The first time we ever have Boba Fett, he's in this. It's part of the animated segment, which you might have seen clips of.
Yeah.
It's that weird, funky 70s animation where, like, Han long face, where Han has the really long face in it. But yeah, that's the first appearance of Boba Fett ever.
Yeah.
Was from this. But yeah, so
this I made the joke while we were coming over here. It's like Han.
Oh yeah, Han gets shot every Life Day.
Every life. I'm glad my friend enjoys.
Yeah, because they do get separated. So Chewie's off to go shopping essentially, whereas Han is worried about Conja Club.
Yeah.
Which they're on Batuu, by the way, which is where the park Galaxy's Edge for Disney is on Batuu. So when you go to Galaxy's Edge, you're going to Batuu.
Yep. And he's like, every damn year, I get shot at.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, Han's made a lot of enemies.
Yeah.
But
like, really?
But yeah, Conja Club goes into the bar where Chewie was getting some drinks, which that is a bar you can visit at Galaxy's Edge. I've had a drink or two there. But yeah, so Han's like, okay, I got to figure out a way to save my friend. Meanwhile, we get flashback to a previous Life Day where we go to the High Republic era.
Yeah, Buryaga and Nibisik.
So obviously before the events of Light of the Jedi.
Yeah. And
basically, Buryaga gets to go home for Life Day.
Yeah, and Nib is kind of teasing him a little bit, like
that he's still basically the runt of like it's that teasing thing of like you're still a Padawan, you're still a kid. Oh no, it is after. I forgot it is after Light of the Jedi because they talk about dealing with the great progenitor. So it's even after. It's even after book 2. Why does my brain just fail on me right now?
I don't know, man. Might have something to do with the eggnog.
No, it's just I can't think of it right now.
Well, you have an excuse, but you're not using it.
Correct, because I don't think it is an excuse because my brain is still. It's. Rising Storm.
There we go.
I got to it. But yeah, Rising Storm. It's after Rising Storm because Progenitor stuff takes place at the same time as Rising Storm. Because the High Republic comic is taking place at the same time as that when the Progenitor stuff's going on. Because they mention in Rising Storm that Avar's dealing with the Dringer situation. And has made a deal with the Hutts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that is on the timeline. But yeah, so we get a history of Life Day, essentially, and like why it's important to the Wookiees. And I think it's a little fun. But then a little bit of a disaster strikes.
Yeah.
As these bug creatures, spiders, start to attack.
Yep.
And so, thankfully, a Life Day miracle indeed happens with a bunch of flamethrowers.
Yep. Like I've been saying,
just kill it with fire.
Just kill it with fire.
If only I could do that in Jedi Fallen Order when I run into those spiders.
Just equip flamethrower. I got something for you, motherfucker.
But yeah, so then we get to see a beautiful feast, and we see so part of Life Day's ritual is honoring the origin tree.
Yeah.
And so after the feast, Buryaga goes to honor the tree, where we see that the tree is beginning to heal.
From all the
the damage, from the insect damage. Because that's where the spiders came from, was within the tree, and apparently they were messing up the Worcester tree.
Yeah.
But we see that it's beginning to heal again, which I think that's beautiful. And we go back to present day with Han and Chewie. I think this takes place after Episode 6.
Yeah.
Is when the Life Day event, like the present day stuff, is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so, because I think they talk about how, like, okay, everything is now, we're not under the Empire or Hutts.
Yeah.
We're good.
But we are broke.
Yeah. But, you know, Han manages to help Han is almost caught when we get another flashback to a previous life, to a closer Life Day that's more recent for Han and Chewie, where basically a bad deal goes down with Trandoshans who are working with Jabba, this is when Han and Chewie are working for Jabba still.
Yep.
And of course, Wookiees and Trandoshans are not
on friendly terms, from what I understand.
Well, yeah, Trandoshans hunt Wookiees for their pelts.
That'd do it.
And of course, things go down where they get into a fight, and even during the heist, and that kind of. But Chewie manages to. They basically find out all these other Wookiees are like enslaved.
Yeah.
And they manage to free them.
Yep.
And after a good fight with Chewie versus the Trandoshan that was supposed to be working with them, Trandoshan falls into a Sarlacc pit.
They were making chemical weapons in this.
Yeah, which is part of why they had to free the Wookiees, because they were like, oh, this could go bad.
Yeah.
So, just as Chewie's about to fall in with the Trandoshan, Han manages to save him with the help of another Wookiee.
Yep.
And so, then they get to celebrate Life Day.
Yep.
Because we see the cult robes.
Yep. Also, here's the chemical weapon so that your crime lord boss
because
Jabba
wanted that.
And Han is like, he doesn't have to know all the details about how this got done, just that it did.
Mm-hmm. Go back to the present day, but hold on.
Yeah.
God, man. But, I mean... Yeah, so we go back to present day where Han manages to talk his way. He does his Han thing. He talks his way out of it. And we get one that's even closer to now. I think this is the last flashback segment, where we get one that's during the events of the original trilogy. Whereas that last one was, like I said before, episode 4. And it's basically...
C-3PO is being a nuisance.
C-3PO is like, hey, why is Chewbacca so sad right now? And he's like, well... In case you haven't noticed, the whole team morale is kind of down here, and also, like, my buddy can't celebrate his holiday.
Yeah. He also can't go home to his
family. Which is a whole thing in a Chewbacca comic that we'll eventually read about, where we get to see Chewbacca's family.
He's like, And the closest thing we have to a Life Day orb right now is your big shiny dome.
And C-3PO is like, oh my. And so C-3PO and R2 decide that they're going to bring Life Day to Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
And
so they go out and they're like looking for an ornament at the very least.
Yeah, some way to celebrate.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, ISB is around.
Yeah.
And I say this is ISB because they got like the Callus helmet.
And like there's some children singing in an alleyway and he kind of looks over at them and he's like, that's just kids singing. And decides to leave it alone.
Yeah, and then C-3PO is like, hey, there's some, like, decides to set them up for a trap.
Yeah,
and
I'm like, this is one of the times where I'm like,
good job,
good job, but also the ISB was actually minding their own damn business for once.
It's one of the few times where C-3PO actually, like, blathered just enough.
Yeah.
Instead of oversharing.
He, like, takes this
takes the
agent to this like, fucking dark-ass alleyway.
He's like, oh my gosh, the rebels, they went this way. Here, follow me.
Fucking Chewbacca.
And then Chewbacca comes out from behind with Luke with a blaster pointed at them.
Chewbacca's over there like the fucking Batman.
Do we just play the Batman theme from that?
That would be a great sting for that panel.
But yeah, so, and then basically the children and their alien race. Yeah. I think the ISB agent was going to stop them from celebrating, but decided not, like, managed to not do it because C-3PO distracted them. I think they were about to. They didn't say, oh, we're going to ignore it, because they were going for their blaster.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Fucking sing Christmas carols. I'll show you, child.
I'll show you a holly jolly Christmas. More of a holy jolly Christmas because of the holes I'm gonna put in you.
Oh.
But yeah, so yeah, the Rebel Alliance and this the alien race on this planet decide to celebrate Life Day together, which thankfully boosts the morale.
Yay.
And Han's like, well, if we couldn't be home, at least Chewie managed to celebrate somehow.
Yeah.
And so, back in present day, we get to the finale of it, where Han starts to convince this guy, hey, look at this orb. It's magic. And the Conjure Club guy's like, what does it actually do? Oh, well, what else? It's a distraction. Pfft, destroys it. And then shoots them. And then Han's like, look, I'll buy drinks for everybody. And on top of that, we'll find another way to celebrate, buddy.
Yeah.
But Chewie's just happy to be with his buddy.
Yeah.
Like, he's just happy to celebrate in any way.
And it's like...
Unfortunately, though, there is a plant that starts to grow at the end.
Yeah.
But we don't get a follow-up to that.
And Han is like, also, I can't pay this, but you know what? What the bartender doesn't know won't hurt until they find out.
Until it's time to pay the tab.
Yep.
So that is Han Solo and Chewbacca Volume 1 completely.
Oh, boy.
It was a nice break from the High Republic. I like the High Republic, but this was a nice break.
Yeah. Because we talk about the High Republic a lot, and sometimes it's fine and nice to take a breather from it.
Especially because the High Republic can really get you down in the dumps.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're like, man, this is sad.
It's a different kind of thing. Like, while the Empire and the First Order are, like, oppressive, they aren't, like, as bad as the stuff that goes on in the High Republic.
Yeah. So far, because obviously there's more Han Solo and Chewbacca to talk about because the series is done. I think at the moment of us recording, they still have a few more issues to come out with.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to do a Volume 2, and then I think that's it. Because it was supposed to be an ongoing, but then I think it didn't make enough sales, so they decided to cut it. Like, once the story is done, it'll be done, I think is what they're going with. And so, it's unfortunate, because I do like I do like this. I kind of like seeing a Han and Chewie doing like stuff for Jabba during a time when they and Jabba get along. So far, I'd give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Obviously, I know stuff that's a little bit later, but
from what I'm seeing, I'll give it a 7.5.
So, and yeah, and the Life Day short itself gets a 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy Life Day to all of you all, and happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, Christmas, whatever. You know, be open-minded on that because it is holiday season overall.
Mm-hmm.
We are taking a break next week for Christmas because I'll be out of town, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in Tennessee.
Not my fault this time.
Well, also it's Christmas. I think Saturday falls on Christmas,
or at least Sunday is Christmas. Saturday is Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. So yeah. So either way, there's no way we would have done it next week. And then we'll be back with Revelations as the final. So a one shot, which will be the final thing we'll talk about for the year. And then we've got some stuff planned for the year ahead. It's not the end of the season yet because we haven't made it through all the stuff I planned.
Yeah.
But we are getting there. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I can't believe we've made it a year.
God, a whole year.
Yeah. Whew. Thank you all for watching with us for a year. Yeah, that's the key, right? We do it because we want to, but also, like we always say, it helps that you guys watch.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank our friends at the Mobcast Network for providing the studio space, as usual. You can find, they do podcasting as well. You can find them at youtube.com/Mobcast Network, where they got a few shows. Cult Movie Cantina, where they talk about older movies, have an alcoholic beverage, and show it to somebody who hasn't seen them before. So somebody who doesn't watch a lot of movies. That's kind of the gimmick.
Yep.
And then we also have My Star Wars Life, and we have Tuesdays with Scotty, where we just talk about whatever Scotty feels like, the guy who runs Mobcast Network. And you can also find them on any podcasting app as well as YouTube. And then I want to thank Gamers and Geeks, our local game shop, which rents out the studio space to Mobcast Network. And you can find, if you're ever in the Mobile, Alabama area, you can find them out here on Moffett. And they have your Magic the Gathering, your Pokemon, your Warhammer, basically any type of gaming. They've got even most tabletop, most board games as well. Yeah. So if you like niche board games and card games, they've got that. There's an arcade in the back, which you may or may not be able to hear. Sometimes you can hear it, sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
It's you pay $10 for the day, you get a wristband, and it's free play machine, so you don't use quarters, you just play the games. And then located adjacent within the shop is also Engage Gaming. They have it's basically it's an arcade in its own system, but you pay like an hourly fee to play on video game consoles. Yep. So you can play PS4, Xbox One, PC, and VR. You pay an hourly rate, but you could also pay a monthly membership fee, and the hourly rate is decreased.
Yep.
I think that's everybody. I do want to thank our patrons. Thank you to Jennifer Brantley for continuing to support us.
Yeah.
We're not on Twitch today. I do want to thank our Twitch. We have a subscriber, our buddy Matt, who it's been a while, but he resubbed. It's my buddy Matt that I play some games with every now and then.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you. And if you want to go support us, we are at twitch.tv/Escape Reality Films. I've actually finally rebranded completely, I think. TikTok is now Escape Reality Films as well. And then YouTube.com, Escape Reality Films. And if you really like our content, be sure to like and subscribe and comment on this video. And trying to think if there's anything. Oh, yeah. If you want to follow me on any other things, I have Twitter and Hive, which Hive is similar to Twitter. It's another social media app. But you can find me there at Escape Reality 94. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's everything.
This upcoming week, though, I will be appearing. I want to announce it again because it's been a minute. I will be on Thursday on the Podwans podcast talking Star Wars Rebels. And lately, another thing you can find me on Twitch doing is I've been playing Jedi Fallen Order on Grandmaster difficulty.
Oh, boy.
And that has been a ride, to say the least. I've made it past the arena.
Okay.
So I'm making progress. So I think the next time I'm streaming will be tomorrow as of when this video comes out. So it's Saturday is when the podcast comes out. So tomorrow, Sunday, will be the next time I play Jedi Fallen Order. Which I am scared and excited because Matt told me that next to the Terran Malicos fight, the arena is the hardest part. So I've made it past the arena, which took me about an hour. And I'm worried about Terran Malicos because I heard that takes about 3 hours on a good day.
Mm. That motherfucker's ripped for an old man.
I mean, you have to be living on Dathomir, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there is anything else.
No, I think we're done.
All right. Well, we'll have one more episode for the year, and so it'll be New Year's Eve episode. Yeah. So I guess we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Everybody have a happy holiday, and thank you all for watching. Have a good one.
Yep.
I've spoken.